Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet willing to say that the future economy will be solely based around used games. I'm willing to join me this week, Brandon.
No.
And Dills.
Why the fuck not?
It's as real as anything else.
I said no.
We're doing it. It's too late, Brandon.
Oh, we can go back. Just like Xbox.
Well, yeah, why don't we just talk about that? Why not? So, we record this podcast on a Friday. It goes live on a Monday. What if something happens over the weekend? We're out of luck.
We talk about it the next week.
Yeah, we talk about it the next week. What if the main topic that we talked about for a lot of the podcast, literally an hour after we record it, is changed? I can't re-record it.
We got egg on our face.
Ooh. But you know what? Even bigger egg on their face, Microsoft. Because they just went back. They're like, listen, we fucked up on the doubling of the price. We're going to not do that anymore. And we're going to make it where free games do not require Xbox Live Gold as sort of an apology.
They just got an advanced version of our podcast, and they realized they fucked up.
They knew. If that went live, they would be done.
I think old Philly was listening in, and he heard us, so he didn't want to. We have said a lot of good things about Xbox on this podcast, right? And he's like, "Damn, I ruined the good faith of the Jump Up Supercast."
Yeah,
we gotta fix this right now.
Phil is a patron at patreon.com/JumpUpSupercast, so he knew, right? He had.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. No, so that's, I don't know if there's a wider thing to say about that besides, like, not like good on them because they tried to pull this in a fast one and then they went back. But I guess people don't do that a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
They don't go back. So
still a little concerning, but also at the same time, it is good that they at least listen to the backlash pretty quickly. It is. You got to feel like because it was so quick that there was somebody internally being like, "This is a bad idea" the whole time,
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Did they print out Xbox Live cards with those prices?
They did. So they were clearly planning on this, right? There was a thing that started briefly afterwards that was, this is a conspiracy, and they were always going to pull this. None of that makes any sense to me. I don't see why you would get a day of bad press, then say we're sorry. That's not the same as just not having a day of bad press.
Yeah, because there's some people who, it's irreversible to them already. Like, they've already, like, oh, that was in bad faith. Now, like, even if you go back, I don't trust you anymore. Like, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
Which is a little maybe
dramatic.
Over dramatic. But, there's going to be people like that. So it would be very stupid to do that just for that,
Plus, I mean, Xbox is already on its back foot this generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
though we did, speaking of Xbox, get their earnings for this year, right? That's what's coming up. Or Q3, excuse me. The year comes in April. But we did the big number. Their overall game spend is up. They sold more consoles than they did the previous quarter, which obviously makes sense, right? They had a new console. This and the PS5 both supply constrained, right? So, like, they could have sold more if they had more, is the vibe. But the big number is 18 million are now on Game Pass. And we're now getting past the period where people are getting those $1 deals. I think that whole thing, was always a little over discussed when talking about how much money Game Pass is making, right? But yeah, I mean, in the same way that I think if you ask like Disney Plus and HBO Go and stuff have been publishing like, oh, like our year 3 goal we reached in a year, right? Microsoft sort of alluded that this was ahead of their own internal expectations for where the service would be at this time, right? So clearly, like we've said before, this is their biggest first-party game is just Game Pass, and that is reflecting accordingly, right? And as we said years ago, this is the 3-year anniversary of the podcast, by the way, everyone. Congratulations.
Yeah, we did it. 3 years, man.
This
Doesn't
literally
feel like
the
it.
first episode of the podcast. We talked about Game Pass getting all first party. I think, I believe it was not. If it was not the first, it was the first 3. So
Yeah. No, it was the first episode. I think the first topic we talked about on the first episode of this podcast was Game Pass.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even back then, we said companies just love consistent income. They love to say 18 million people are paying us $15 a month. We can plan around that, right? And that's why, like, you know, their earnings will still up even when they couldn't make as many consoles as they wanted, right? It was because of that. So, congrats. That's why they're not going to back away on that soon, you know?
Until about an hour from now.
Yeah, they will cancel all of Game Pass. Yeah.
Please, no.
You will instead be getting Games with Gold exclusively for original Xbox games.
I would cry. That would be a bad, sad day.
Now, speaking of that, a company that has partnered with not GameStop, excuse me. We'll get to GameStop, don't you worry. To Microsoft is Don't Nod, right? Tell Me Why was published by Microsoft it was their day one on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
They have there was a sort of I forget who was the initial report. We had follow-up reports essentially about the relationship between Don't Nod, Square Enix, right? Because they got acquired by Tencent this week. Tencent, you may know, as the massive mega corporation that owns they have fingers everywhere, right? They have controlling share in Riot, in Epic, in just a ton of things, right? So comparatively, Don't Nod is a smaller acquisition, right?
Yeah. They're French, right? I think it's a French company.
It is a French company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tencent acquired a minority stake.
Yeah. But they're getting a seat at the table. And they did a similar company last year. I forget which one it was. But so this is clearly a strategy that they have, right? We've had reporting about this for a while now that we haven't covered on the podcast because it's all sort of rumor and speculation. But I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. We had follow up that the Life is Strange franchise is owned by Square. They don't plan on shelving it. They plan on the people who made Life is Strange Before the Storm picking up the sort of mantle. Which I think obviously makes sense, right? People generally like that game.
It's pretty good.
And then Life is Strange, excuse me, Don't Nod is going to do their own thing, right? That essentially, I think this is sort of a good situation for the best of both worlds, right? Like, for those that like Life is Strange, it will continue on, right? Through, like, you know, Square is a company that can sometimes shelve a franchise, but they don't seem to be doing that with Life is Strange. And Don't Nod gets to... I think that they're quietly growing is the other thing. They're quietly staffing up, right? Tell Me Why, it should be noted, not the Life is Strange people, a different team, even though very much in the style of Life is Strange, right?
Yeah, plays very similar.
And so I think that'll be interesting to sort of see how these companies that are managed by Tencent in particular, whether or not there's, you know, good news, bad news, right? Because anytime there's acquisitions, how much of that company culture is allowed to remain is always sort of up for debate, you know?
Yeah. We'll see. I like Don't Nod, though, as a developer. From everything I've played, and by everything I mean Life is Strange 1, 2, and Tell Me Why.
Yeah.
But, I like them, so interested to see what they're going to do next.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, normally you would not imagine this is the first company that they're thought of to be acquired, but it won't be the last. That is the thing that's been reported. Both Tencent and apparently Microsoft are still the two big ones that are looking to acquire this year, right? Some people are like,
Microsoft, yeah.
Microsoft, some people are saying, I don't want to, you know, they're not as well sourced as Jason Schreier, so I want to sort of we'll get to Jason Schreier in a bit, but want to sort of put a little bit of an asterisk on this one, but that, you know, Bethesda was not the end for them, right? They still have other things, and not small decisions either, right? So
I mean, with their earnings, with how much they earned just in one quarter, the last quarter, you know, that was just how much they banked. It was what was it, like fucking 40 million, 40. Well, it was.
They were able to pay off the Bethesda acquisition and then some. Yeah, like, you know. So if they want to, they can, right?
Yeah, I mean, you see how much money they're making, and now you definitely know when like people ask like Phil Spencer, like, you know, how is Game Pass like sustainable with how much, you know, you guys are basically almost giving away, and he's like, don't worry about it. you know why he says don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah.
They don't gotta worry about it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, another company that has been interested in acquisitions might continue to be, but though they may slow down, is Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. And we did get a big dump from Jason Schreier about the state of Amazon Game Studio, right? Which
this was weird.
You know, there's the big blow-ups, right? There's Cyberpunk, right? There's, you know, the Battlefront 2 or whatever else, Fallout 76. This one is quietly been a maybe bigger blow-up because these games haven't even... They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
There was New World, there was... I forget the other one. But two different games published by Amazon Game Studio. Both of them have been pulled from the Amazon Marketplace because people did not like them. And sort of looked into why, right? Amazon has it everywhere else, right? They are the biggest, evilest company in the world, right? They can just do everything. Why can't they do video games? And essentially...
Not that easy. Look at Google.
Yeah, well, it's true. That's the thing with all these companies, right? Is especially with this one, though, in the article, they talk about how in Amazon, there's the internal belief, if you can run one business, you can run any other business, that tenants work across boundaries, right? And then the guy, Mike Frazzini is his name, the guy he's been there since the Amazon bookstore days, right? Was the one that was heading it up, right? In case you don't remember, the head creator of Portal, right? The head creator of EverQuest, right? A bunch of people from Electronic Arts, Double Helix, you know, a ton of different people were all brought in. They spent over $1 billion on this, right? Which once again for Amazon is nothing. But essentially, Frazzini came in and was total out of advice, shrugged it off, and said, "We're looking for $1 billion franchises. We are looking to make a Call of Duty and a Minecraft on a regular basis." You can see how this strategy may not work. The strategy of, we're going to make the biggest thing in the world and not taking any advice on as to how that happens, obviously won't take you anywhere, right?
It's always smart to go from like the end point and work backwards, right?
Yeah.
Dumb shit.
Yeah, and just that's the other thing is like there was a game called New World, right, where you were playing a person visiting the new world, right? There's a connotation with that word, right, that comes with colonization, and the main people you were killing looked like a bunch of Native Americans, and people kept saying, "Hey, this is fictional land, but it's obvious that this is what we're not going to get in trouble for this. We're going to get in trouble for this. You're going to get in trouble for this." Mm-hmm. And then he said, "We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine." And then they brought in a tribal consultant, and immediately they were like, "Are you crazy? This is bad. You can't do this." And they're like, "Well, shit." So they had to delay the game by 8 months to get rid of the racism. And you're like, good that no one listened. Yeah. So it's a thing that's just, it's very interesting. It is Bloomberg now, so there is sort of a pay gate, right? But I think it's a very interesting thing to look at to see. The one thing that they did share was that they're still like tech bros, no matter what part of no industry you're in, right? So there was not a lot of women on staff. There was not a lot of minorities or like in the room, right? That sort of felt like their voices were being heard on any of this stuff. And you're like, once again, that's a good recipe.
Yeah. They try to make a League of Legends knockoff. They try to make a Fortnite knockoff. They try to make an Overwatch knockoff. They all fucking failed.
Yeah. And we didn't see any of those, right? They just like
didn't they have a streaming service too?
Twitch?
Well, Luna. They announced Luna last year.
That's what it was.
That's still going forward, apparently. But it's like, because Amazon made it work, right? In terms of like Prime Video for a long time was sort of viewed as the lesser of all of them, right? But like over time, they've quietly racked up things, right? And now like things like The Boys are like among the most viewed streaming shows of the year, right?
Yeah.
So like they could still make a comeback, obviously, but I think it's very interesting to sort of see that we talk a lot about how video games are especially hard, right? That you can't tell if a thing is going well until the last 10%, basically, right? And you really need to have people that can have a vision a long way off from seeing that, who can guide the ship, right? And how that turns out to be very true, right? This guy that sort of has managed a bunch of different businesses suddenly walks into this space and is like, oh, I'm actually shit out of luck on this stuff, right?
But it also seems like, I mean, like we've already said, like they have a bad design philosophy already. Like it's already baked in. So
yeah,
if you can't make $1 billion game, it's not gonna work according to them.
Yeah,
which is a bad way to go buy it.
Yeah.
There is speaking of that and of also these cool practices from corporate. So there is a there's a rule that exists in a lot of unions, right? And is now being applied to a lot of tech jobs, right? Called the Rooney Rule, which is essentially is that you have to when you are trying to hire someone, you have to have at least one non-white minority candidate, right? And then that now applies to women and other measures, right? And that's because, you know, it has to help create a more diverse workplace, right? People tend to get looked over if they don't look how you look, right? So you sort of force people to have different other types of people in the room, right? Activision is apparently incredibly upset at that. And has been, there was reporting from Vice that they have been privately pushing for months to be exempted from that rule, because they describe it as an unworkable encroachment on their style of manage it in a highly competitive, fast-moving market. Which I think is a hilarious admission of guilt. Like we have a system built in such a way that we only have white dudes in position of authority that the idea of even having one other person just not even get the job, just apply for the job, we just can't handle in our workflow.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just the coolest.
Activision, what the fuck? I'm looking at you right now. I'm giving you a look.
There's a look.
It's not a good look.
Telling on yourself a little bit with that one. But yeah, that one's weird. I don't know if there's any larger follow-up besides just like, hey man, this is what they're up to. There's been other stuff about Blizzard, right, under you know, with a similar thing, right? You'll probably find that with most companies, to be honest, right?
Why do companies suck?
Yeah, it's a thing. All right, let's talk about the biggest news of the week in the wider space. I don't know what all we can say about it, but last week we alluded to it. We said GameStop is memeing itself on the stock market. We didn't know how high that would take us and how low and how in the middle. Which
to
is
the moon. That's where it's taking us.
To the moon. It was like 80 when we recorded last week. It got up to like it cleared for 2069 this week. And at the time of recording, it settled back down in the 300s. And it was interesting for a multitude of reasons, right? Because obviously, GameStop, we have discussed before how it does not seem like it was very long for its life, right? And unintentionally, we may have contributed to all of this happening. Not really, but that attitude, right? Because a short is betting on that a company is not going to exist. That's going to hit zero on the stock market, right? Yeah. So because
less lower, it's going to go lower.
Yeah, you're betting on it going down, right? And the maximum payout is if it just goes under. But for GameStop, that was a thing that someone named user deep fucking value on Reddit noticed months ago and sort of got spread around of like, look, 100% of the stocks on GameStop are shorted, right? And so if it goes up, they have to pay in, right? The people that bought those shorts, which are big hedge funds, right? So this led to a wider rush and specifically, like, because like other stocks have tried this, right? They tried with AMC, they tried with Nokia and with BlackBerry, right? None of them took off like GameStop, right? And so now it's become a focal point in a lot of different ways. They're asking the like White House about what they're going to do about GameStop. A bunch of
delightful sentence, really.
Yeah, it is absurd. That is especially GameStop, right? But we did learn a couple things about this as a result, because people are now taking a closer look. For as much as we bemoaned the death of GameStop, they actually were a lot less close. They were a lot further away from death than we thought. Like, they had outstanding debts, but those outstanding debts, like, they had a lot of cash on hand, so they had time to change course, right? Which is part of why this stock in particular blew up in the way that it did, right? But I think it's just a very weird story, because also, and genuinely, when I was reading speculation and just people explaining what's happening, they're like, the fact that it is GameStop, right? And GameStop represents the business of video game retail, right? In particular, because retail is viewed as dying, right? Because of Amazon. And video games are viewed as one of the quickest things that are going purely to digital. That GameStop, the stock lowered way more than it should have, because purely that perception rather than how their actual business was working, right? Like, they had too many stores open and they were closing those stores, right? Mm-hmm. But like, they were just saving money when doing that. They weren't actually like closer to death. So maybe GameStop will be around for longer than we thought. Maybe they won't be.
Maybe they won't be.
Reggie might be a billionaire now. I don't know.
Good for Reggie. Reggie deserves it.
Good for Reggie. Good for, I mean...
Does anyone deserve $1 billion?
Does anyone? Us.
True.
We do.
Yeah.
I hope... I don't know how. I don't expect this to ever trickle down to the managers or the workers, but it'd be nice. Trickle down generally doesn't work, though. So...
Sound a lot like Ronald Reagan right now.
You know... Weirdly political week on the Up Supercast. We're talking about a lot of stuff. That's just where the news takes us. So yeah, so there's that. What? There was one other thing I wanted to hit in the news, but do you remember?
2021 starting off real weird, huh?
Oh, it's hilarious. It's like, I laughed a lot this week. It's weird.
I laughed a lot this month, I feel like.
Yeah.
There was a riot in the Capitol, so I didn't laugh that much.
Well, I didn't laugh.
That one wasn't as funny.
That was not funny.
This is like you know how there's like the arc in an anime, right? After like the time skip or a big thing, or you have a really big like fight, and then right after you sort of de-escalate to sort of lower the temperature before you go to the next big one, you know?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
The GameStop, this week of GameStop felt like, you know, it was like that little smaller arc after the big one, you know? And then at some point we'll get to another huge mess again afterwards.
Well, yeah, this is the feast in One Piece, you know, where they're all singing and eating.
Yeah, that was specifically the thing I was thinking of, but I didn't want to get too specific. That's that. What video games have you been playing this week? Or in general, the last month, I guess, probably.
Yeah, I would say.
What video game have you been playing this week?
Yeah, why don't we start with you? Okay,
I've been playing Minecraft. When I've not been playing the Alliance Alive for the Game Club Extra. It's slowed my progress down, that Minecraft, because so I have a server with a couple friends. We beat Bedrock, right? That's the version on consoles. We said, let's go to Java where there's a bunch of mods, right? And we downloaded a thing called Feed the Beast, which if you are a person that watches Minecraft streams at all, this has blown up in the last year or so, right? And it's like a mod pack of like several hundred mods all bundled in one, right? And you don't have to worry about them ever like messing with each other. It just works, right? You just download a launcher to make it work. And Minecraft mods in particular are wild because the base game is very simple, right? But there's so much you can work within that, right? So like now we're at this place where where I'm working on this thing called Thaumcraft, where I'm doing magic using the base elements of the world, and I'm slowly going insane with like Cthulhu like tentacles showing up in my house and stuff that I have to kill. Meanwhile, another buddy's like created an entire power system, right, where like they have like wiring and are powering multiple machines and have essentially automated a society. Another one's just finding constellations and can like teleport through knowing things about astral magic. It's just it's wild as hell, right? And obviously how much mods go for you depends on how cool you are with playing with, having to download stuff and install stuff, right? But Minecraft in particular, I think, is just insane in what all it does, because it doesn't just like add new content, right? Like there's like mods that are like, there was one that was just released a couple weeks ago for Fallout New Vegas, right? Where essentially it's just a whole new game, right? And those are cool. But this one is like, you're still playing Minecraft, but you're flying around and you're doing all these other things that like would just be completely beyond what the pale is in normal Minecraft. So it's fun. It's fun for a game that's over 10 years old. So
you're saying you've been playing all this Minecraft, but you haven't been streaming it, so you're losing us all this exposure to the tween market.
Oh, well, unfortunately, I think Minecraft is now for like the 20-somethings.
Well, you're losing us them too.
Yeah, it's true. Minecraft, I now see it in like nostalgia posts, right? It's like 2009, you're back in elementary school again. You're playing Minecraft. Everything is perfect. And I'm like, oh,
I wasn't in elementary school back then.
No, I wasn't either, and that's the problem.
We're getting old.
That's the crisis there.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah, 25 is a weird one. I know you're gonna say that's nothing, and you're probably right, but
well, I mean, yeah. Well, I'm not. I'm 32, so I'm older than you, but I'm not like super older than you, I guess.
Yeah.
There's still, I mean, that 7-year gap. There's a lot of things, especially when you talk about nostalgia, because you see a post where it's like back in elementary school. When I was in elementary school, there was Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. That's what
I never
kids
pictured
were talking
this.
About. Yeah. So
we didn't have a console war in elementary school because the PS2 was just kicking everyone's ass.
Because we fought those wars for you. You
did. the 360 PS3 generation was contentious. I do remember that one. That one was. That was in middle school though.
When I was in middle school, the GameCube, PS2, Xbox console wars were PS2 kids are jerks, and they always have been. So
they were just winning, and they just loved to let you know they were winning.
Yeah, I know. Being a GameCube kid, it sucked. I tell you that.
That's why they all carry. That's why they're so angry today. They're carrying the scars of their childhood.
Yeah, I know, man. It was rough.
So what you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of games. I mean, I put a lot of hours into Dragon Quest XI.
Yeah.
As you know, or may not know, that's Will definitely knows because you picked this game. But that's my my New Year's game. So I've been putting a lot of hours into Dragon Quest. I'm over the halfway point now. Finally.
Mm-hmm.
What a long video game Dragon Quest XI is. But I won't get into too much detail because we can talk about that later, and we've already talked about it when we added it to the list and stuff. But
yeah,
I've been playing a lot of like small games in between. Like I played the as usual my Game Club games, but I did, as you alluded to earlier, we were talking about Tell Me Why. I beat Tell Me Why at the beginning of this year. It was pretty cool. I really liked it.
How many episodes was Tell Me Why? Was it just one big chunk, or
it's 3? It's 3 episodes. So not as long as Life is Strange, which is usually 5 episodes.
Yeah. Would you say they were longer on average episode-wise, or about the same length?
No. They weren't very long. It's not a long game. Yeah. I think maybe between all 3 episodes, maybe 10 hours, if that. So, pretty easy playthrough. But it's a cool story. I would recommend it. So randomly, me and my friend, we started this last year. We've been playing through a lot of co-op games, and we played through Gears of War Judgment recently. And that game, a lot of everything I heard about Gears of War Judgment was usually negative, right? Or just meh, or like middling, right?
Sure.
But Gears of War Judgment was developed by the by People Can Fly, and those are the guys who made Bulletstorm. And yeah, I really liked Gears of War Judgment. It was actually a pretty cool game. You know, it mixed up the formula of the typical Gears of War. It was more like these really quick, like level based kind of levels that seemed more arcadey, and each level had its own unique like challenge that you could add to it to make the level like just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah,
like there'll be extra enemies, or you know, you'll have like fog will roll in and you can barely see, or you can only use like these types of weapons, like only handguns, or like you have less ammo, just random stuff, you know, or you have a time limit. And that was cool too, to add that like little extra challenge for each level. And I just had a fun time. You know, it was a cool game, and I think I would recommend it. And one more game I just want to talk about real quick. I played The Tourist, and very quick game, but really cool.
Yeah,
it was a really cool game. I had fun playing that.
Yeah, I played that last year.
What's the game I'm trying to think of? An NES game.
Reminds me a lot of Link's Awakening.
Kind of Link's Awakening. But I was thinking more, God, why they can't fucking Star Tropics? There we go.
Sure, yeah.
Because you're on an island, you know, and you go into little dungeons and stuff like that. So a little bit of a Star Tropics vibe, but really cool. I really like the art style in The Tourist. And I 100%ed it. I just had a fun time, and it really not too challenging, not too long, but it's pretty cool. It's a cool game. I would recommend it.
That's a fun like weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question on Gears of War Judgment, to circle back a little bit.
Sure.
So I think the reason that the reception of it was middling at the time was because there was just a lot of Gears fatigue, right? When you think of
3 games on one console, right? On the 360, you had 1, 2, and 3. And this was the 4th one.
Yeah, it and God of War within a month, essentially, were in a month of each other, right? So I think both of them are like, okay, are we still going with these? I guess was sort of like the feeling at the time, right? Do you think that Gears fatigue has gotten better since then, or do you think that it sort of has continued to sort of just stay at that level, and you feel like there needs to be something to draw interest back up again?
Yeah, I mean, the Gears franchise is not. It reached a peak at 2 with popularity, I feel like.
Sure.
And having played now 1, 2, 3, and Judgment, I still think 2 is the best one in the series. I plan on playing 4 and 5 later this year. But yeah, I guess people don't seem as hyped when a Gears game gets announced anymore. Or, you know, Gears 5 like came and went, I feel like, right? Didn't it come out last year or the year before?
2018, I think.
Gears 5?
Yes.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure it was holiday.
It was not.
Sorry, I mean 2019. My brain says 2 years ago was 2019. I think it was 2019. I'm sorry. Yeah, September 6th, 2019. Because I remember it was there. I saw ads for it at Thanksgiving, which is why my brain said that.
Okay.
Right before we stopped being able to go out and see people.
I was gonna say, but Gears 5 just kind of came and heard it was pretty decent, but nobody. It just, you know, that's it. Just came and went.
Yeah.
So.
Like it led. It's funny because it led to the biggest spike that Game Pass has ever had. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like for Microsoft, it was a huge success, but like culturally, it feels like, you know, it, like you said, it came and went. Right.
Yeah.
That'd be curious.
I'm excited to play it regardless when I get around to it, because I've really enjoyed the Gears franchise so far.
Yeah. Ills, what have you been playing?
I finished The Alliance Alive, which we will talk about in depth at a later date at some point. I'm playing Cyber Shadow now. So it's a lot like what you'd expect it to be.
I played the first level and said, this is going to be hard.
Ninja
Yeah, this is what it is on the 10. I said it's exactly what it says on the 10 when you buy it, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Even more so than maybe the Messenger is. It's more like Ninja Gaiden than the Messenger is.
Yeah.
It's not a bad or a good judgment. It's just, more different.
Yeah, because I think The Messenger sort of has a split in its audience that I've seen, right? Where, like, well, I guess I was spoiling too much, though I think it was in the trailers. Like, The Messenger has a turn halfway through the game, right? And I think for some people, they're like, this is really cool. And for some people, they're just like, I wish it had stuck to what the original pitch was, right?
That's strange.
That's stupid. It was fucking awesome, is what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for it, right? But I think that for those people that did sort of want to sort of stick to that original thing, I think Cyber Shadow seemed like a good fit.
Sure, but those people also don't know a good video game, because that game is real fucking good.
Yeah,
it's such a good gameplay wise. Sorry, I know we're getting off track but I just fucking love The Messenger. Like, gameplay wise, it's such a good gameplay mechanic, and just they do an amazing job with the level design, switching between them, and that game's really good.
Yeah. I guess anything else, Bills?
No, I'm good.
All right. I guess I never mentioned this before I beat it, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it for Game of the Year because I was off that episode. But what is probably my Game of the Year for 2020, I finally beat Yakuza 7, which was very good. Obviously, I'm a mark for Yakuza. I'm a mark for RPGs. I'm a mark for specifically Dragon Quest. And guess what? That's what that game. That's what that game is.
You love middle-aged Japanese men.
I think that's part of it. Man. I love the fact that the youngest party member in that game is like 32. Like, everyone in that game is kind of old. They have stories and things that have happened to them. Obviously, you don't get that a lot in JRPGs. A lot of times, they're all kids. Hate the youths. And, I don't know. Just really good story. I love Ichiban. I think he's a very good protagonist. I think Kiryu is great. I love Kiryu. But he's a little perfect. He does not have a lot of flaws, that Kazuma Kiryu. His biggest flaw is that he's so nice that people take advantage of him, right? And Ichiban has sort of a similar thing, but it's less so that he's just so nice and more so that he's like a hothead, and he's got a bunch of other stuff, and he sort of has like a slightly warped moral center because of where he grew up, right? But he still like means well, right? And that's why you still root for him. So if you want to play that game, don't worry. I mean, I don't know if you... I know some fans are... Oh, that's the thing, actually. News-wise, this won't matter to anyone, but there was a leak, seemingly legitimate. There was full-on gameplay footage and stuff for a new game that of the new Yakuza spin-off, starring the main bad guy from 2. And seemingly it's going to be a brawler style. So I would imagine that that'll be what they do in the future, right? Is that Ichiban, the guy from 7, will keep the RPG, and this guy or whoever else will go back to the old style of gameplay for people that... Because I know some people it didn't catch, right? The actual game itself. Like, they just didn't like the RPG stuff, and that's fair. So that old style of game will still be alive for those of you out there. So that's good. Anyways. Those are the games we've been playing. Any other, like, just topic of news or anything else you want to cover before we move on? The answer appears to be no. All right.
I want a PlayStation 5, but whatever,
Oh! That's worth mentioning. The lady, I think, my brain says AMD. Maybe NVIDIA. I forget. Anyway, either way, it is a person that provides key components for the Series X and the PS5. Said expect supply constraints until the second half of 2021.
Yep.
So, we asked on the New Year's guesses episode, right? Or sort of preview, the 2021 preview. When do we think it'll get better? And we said probably not till after June. And we were right. Hopefully, it's not even any later than that.
Sad, but whatever. You know what?
Sad.
I'm getting over it. I want one, but I've been talked down a little bit. I was talking to Mina, and she was saying, like, what are you really gonna play on it right now? There's nothing really
Yeah, I mean,
that for me especially, that I feel like I need to play.
Ills, what have you been playing on your PS5? Have you had anything much since it came out?
Not really.
Me either.
I haven't really been playing like PS5 games anyway. Like,
yeah, me either.
I've been playing backwards compatibility shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of the case for I think both consoles right now, right? Is like what's the biggest third party game coming out for next gen? Hitman came out, so I guess that counts.
I mean, I played the games I wanted to play already. It was like Miles Morales.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not a huge amount of games that you're like, that you're missing out on right now, I guess is what I'm saying, Brandon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm more okay with it now than I was like last month. Just like whatever.
The FOMO is slowly receding, right? You're not afraid of missing out. Yeah. Another thing you won't want to miss out on is adding a game to the list.
The list.
Follow along the pace bin below as every week we add a game to an ever-growing list of over 200 titles. Right now we're exactly at 241, right? Last week we added Greece. Saf added it. We got to 77 on the list, folks.
Mm-hmm. I just beat that game.
Brandon
last weekend.
Just beat that game. Literally, I think in call after we recorded the podcast.
Yeah, right after we recorded the podcast Friday. I think I beat it on like Saturday, like the day after.
That podcast is outdated in so many different ways.
I know. I will say I would have put it a little bit lower, but
Sure. Well, that's the curse. But you do get to really add your own game.
Yeah, I do. It's my turn, huh? Okay. So hopefully I get this in one shot. Because
you can't miss.
I got nothing else after that, but if I have to, I'll brainstorm on the fly. But right now, I was thinking of adding a little game called Inside.
I've not played Inside.
Damn it!
Sorry,
I knew Ills had, but
yeah,
man.
No, I always mean to, but I have not yet.
Always mean to, but not yet. Okay.
Yeah, I cursed you on that one.
Well, you did. I thought that's one you had played. You know what?
Let you down, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
While you think, we should say the royal ranking is coming up. It is soon.
Soon when? Well, we don't know. We'll discuss that at a later date.
Yeah. It could be this Wednesday when you hear this. It could be later. We'll let you know. What you can find out for sure is by following us on Twitch and on Twitter, right? At Up Supercast on both, because that's where we live stream that. So each of us, I don't know if we're going to do a gimmick for the royal ranking this year, if we're going to do a lightning round or whatever. But we are at least guaranteeing 6 games will be moved or will be attempted to be moved, depending. Which is, sometimes that's where the most contentious stuff happens in the list. So check it out. Brandon, you think anything?
Yeah. Will, have you played Gato Roboto yet?
I have played Gato Roboto. Yes. You
have.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's rank that game. I think that's been out for over a year, right?
Yeah.
Seems about right.
It seems like 2018.
Let's just make sure. But I'm pretty sure.
I don't think you want to get mad at us if we did. May 30th, 2019. We're in the clear, folks.
Okay. All right. I know Ilse has played this game, right? Yeah. So Gato Roboto. Basically, it's a Metroidvania. It's straight up. It's almost a Metroid game. You play as a cute little kitty cat.
And a robot suit.
Yeah, in your robot suit, straight up a fucking power armor. Samus's power armor. But you crash land on this alien planet, and you're the man piloting the ship is like, oh, I can't get out of here. And he sends the kitty to go save him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will say this game, it's a short Metroidvania game. It's very short. It plays its art style is very Game Boy like. It's like black and white. Everything is in black and white. So like and there's even like different filters, which one is like a straight up Game Boy filter, gives it that like green tone that you can unlock throughout the game. So it looks like a Game Boy game. Plays like old Metroid. Very short, kind of easy. It's almost like I would say it's almost like a entry level Metroidvania game.
It's not hard to it's hard to get lost, I guess is the way I would phrase it, right? Like they sort of very clearly sort of have every screen be distinct enough that you know where you are, which I think is good, right? Because it is black and white, so it can very easily become samey. But I think they avoid that well by not overextending themselves in terms of like the world map, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll say it's a solid game. You know, I will say I had a good time playing it.
Yeah,
and you know, it's my biggest complaint is maybe how short it is, and you know, kind of wish there was more, which is, you know, kind of I guess a good thing. And as the cat, there's some little sections, instead of like having a morph ball, you like straight up just get out of your suit.
Yeah,
and like to squeeze through the small places.
Mm-hmm.
You play as a little kitty cat, just running around in the little crawl spaces and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really do any combat when you're the cat. You just have to try to get back to your suit. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really cool game.
Yep. Where would you want to put it on the list, Brandon?
Where do I want to put it on the list? Let's take a quick look here. Let's see. How about underneath Untitled Goose Game, maybe?
Where's Untitled Goose Game?
Maybe I'm too high, but I don't know. 144 is Untitled Goose Game.
144.
Yeah.
I didn't want to think about it. Where my brain was looking was like around like the Shantae Demon's Crest area at 160.
Yeah, it's not bad either.
I don't know. It does not have a lot of big flaws to it, you know?
It does. It's very solid, but man, I had a criticism about it, but now I can't remember what it was. Right after I beat it.
Yeah.
But
how do you think it compares to Gunman Clive?
Where is Gunman Clive?
Gunman Clive. What number is that?
139.
139.
I mean, it might be better than Gunman Clive, to be honest with you. But
man, Cave Story's too low. Yeah. Again, it happens. I think it's better than Gunman Clive. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you were thinking, Ilse? That you thought you think
yes.
It's better than Gunman Clive?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's cool. It's just a very simple, fun to play, quick little breeze of a Metroidvania game. You know.
And I think it's okay for a game to not try to like reinvent the world. You know.
I mean,
yeah,
it plays well.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to reinvent anything.
Yeah,
yeah,
as long as it plays well.
And it doesn't really do anything super unique, you know, but it does play very well.
It's almost a game that feels like if there was like still a dedicated handheld, right? Like it would find a lot of success. Like you can imagine playing this on your 3DS, right? And it works very well. And I think those type of more bite-sized experiences have a good place in games.
I think that might have actually been my biggest criticism as I beat it. Now that I'm thinking about it, was that it didn't feel like it did really anything really unique. But still, it played very well. So,
and the cat is cute. It's what gets you in the door. It gets you in the door. The cat in the robot suit.
Yeah,
I mean the overworld, like the overall sense of the world. I mean, it's just like very silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fighting like rats, like big rats that are like talking shit to you and stuff.
Yeah, it's a real piece of trash. Hate that rat. Yeah. So I'll be fine above Gunman Clive. Would not put it above Pandora's Tower though.
No.
Yep.
Okay, there it is. 139 on the list. Gato Roboto. Surrounding it at 137, we have Cave Story. 138, Pandora's Tower. 1 39, like I said. Gato Roboto, 140. Gunman Clive, 141. Sonic Generations. That is the list. That is the podcast for this week. We went a nice clip this week, you know. Before we go, we want to, of course, do some plugs, do a final phrase. Who would like both?
Not me.
Brandon, you generally get stuck with the whatchamacallit. Do you want the final phrase?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. I can do both if you want me to.
I'll do plugs.
All right.
So video games. We talk about them every Monday on the Jump Up Supercast and every other Wednesday on the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. Thursday. Most recently, the boys of the Game Club played
Disney's Hercules.
And
are playing Police Knots.
That's a hot one, much like in the hit song Smooth. But besides all that, we also stream on Twitch, right? We go live whenever Mina wants to play video games. Mostly Mario, maybe not, who knows. Brandon will sometimes stream, especially the Game Club games. Maybe I'll start streaming when I want to. Besides all that, there's also I guess it's worth mentioning, we're probably going to be doing a Resident Evil thing in the coming months, so don't want to miss out on that. There's also our twitter.com/jumbosupercast, facebook.com/jumbosupercast, instagram.com/jumbosupercast, where we post when these episodes go live, as well as just various odds and ends. For our 3-year anniversary, give us a follow on those platforms. Give us a follow on your podcast service of choice. Rate us 5 stars. Follow us on SoundCloud. All of these things are sick. Patreon.com/jumbosupercast, like I mentioned at the start of the podcast. You can give us $1 a month to get a vote for the Jumbo Supercast Game Club one pick around. So once every 2 months, basically, you get to put your name in the hat to make those fools play a video game. It could be Biomutant, which is coming out May 25th. Make Saf play that game.
Saf's not in the Game Club.
Saf will be forced into the Game Club for specifically Biomutant. Besides all that, though, I think that's all the plugs that we need in general. Brandon, final phrase.
Sure. 2021, there's a lot of video games coming out, and there's one game that has not been announced officially, but I'm gonna meme it into existence right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Nintendo, I'm looking at you, and specifically, I'm looking at Camelot. Hey, Camelot, don't give us a new Golden Sun game. We want Mario Golf. God damn it! Where the fuck is Mario Golf? Okay, if I will right now, I'm putting it on the line. If Mario Golf gets announced, okay, for 2021. The golf club is coming back.
Oh, baby.
It is coming back. I will stream a golf video game every single week. Guaranteed. Okay? I will do it. Alright? For the rest of 2021, from when that game is announced to the end of the year, I will stream a golf video game every single week on twitch.tv/jumpupsupercast.
Amen.
So, please, give it to us.